Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Avatar news update video. So this time out we have some pretty big news. It's about Avatar Studios animated stuff, specifically the movie, so Aang the Last Airbender, which up to now, as far as we're aware, we have some voice actors and we know that apparently it's coming out January 2026. And some of this information we're going to get into obviously matches up with that, and so it does seem to be very, very official, though obviously it's more of a found piece of news rather than it being a really pushed out there public piece of news, but still interesting to get this update on the movie. So we're here on the US Copyright Office website because Paramount have basically a copyright filing in relation to the movie, which we will get into in just a second. Just to explain what's going on here, if you search on the copyright thing, you find some stuff, and if you search Paramount Animation, you'll note that on September 30th, so just a few weeks ago, they posted 3 listings back to back to back. One about a SpongeBob movie, which you can see here, one about their upcoming Smurfs animated movie, and then this mysterious Lost Realm also. And that's exactly what we have here. So this is that listing for Lost Realm. So if we just go through this here, you can sort of see what it is. It's for a motion picture, so it's for a movie. Application title Lost Realm. Title Lost Realm, which is interesting that the title does not have Avatar. It doesn't have Aang, Airbender, any of that stuff in it. It just says Lost Realm. I still would consider this roughly a working title, and that whatever they release this as probably will be Aang the Last Airbender Lost Realm or Avatar Lost Realm or something like that. It's from Paramount Animation. They're saying that the creation apparently of work on this began in February 2023, which definitely isn't correct, even approximate. It would have to have started before then. I guess there's some sort of a reasoning behind why they chose that date. I don't think it super matters for our kind of news focused purposes. Date of anticipated completion, again approximate, but they're suggesting November 2025. Ahead of a projected date of publication or release of January 2026. Again, approximate, but that is the public date that we have for this movie. So that actually matches up and speaks to the idea from much earlier in the year. It's January 2026. And then as of the end of last month, they're still considering it January 2026. So there, I guess, hasn't been a official date push in all of that time, which is good. Authorship, also Paramount Animation, and then the description kind of goes off screen here. I'll just open up my tweet to show you what it says here, but it is just basically this copy and pasted effectively. So what the description says is this: years following the events of the beloved original series, Avatar, a new evil threatens the future of all 4 nations. Avatar Aang must rally his friends to defeat a new villain, the likes of which they've never seen before. So, very general, but it is our first proper description, like kind of synopsis effectively of this movie, that they're confirming. Even though we already knew, it is set in the future, of course. It's years afterwards. We'll get into, I suppose, some details of that when we finally get them. But we're expecting like Aang to be, I think, 24 or something like that. So probably like quite a bit afterwards. But we'll see what happens there. A new evil threatens the future of all 4 nations. So world potentially ending or conquering threat makes sense. Aang has to rally his friends to defeat a new villain. So this is sort of the interesting dynamic here of, I guess when we start the movie, Team Avatar isn't necessarily going to be full on together as a team. They're going to have their own lives. They're going to be adults at this point. They're going to be doing different things. And I guess Aang is going to have to reform, bring the team together to deal with this threat. So the assumption here would be probably like Aang and Katara are together, but they're going to have to find wherever Sokka is and Toph and bring Zuko in from the Fire Nation. Hopefully Suki's included in this as well, but we'll see what happens there. But apparently the villain is the likes of which they've never seen before, which of course it is, but like, what do you mean by that? If you take that super literally, what could that possibly mean? For Avatar, typically that is new form of bending that potentially we've never seen before, full stop, or at least Aang has never seen before. That's kind of interesting. To a certain degree, the team directly facing off against a spirit is a sort of new threat as well. The other thing I might potentially bring up is a spirit-enhanced character. They also haven't really faced off against something like that necessarily. So you're trying to think of like what could oppose the Avatar. And obviously there's one way to do that with sort of just raw numbers and just overwhelming the amount of people the Avatar can kind of fight back against. In terms of what can bring a power level equivalent to the Avatar, well, you're going to need some very fancy bending or some sort of empowerment, and usually spirit stuff can kind of get you there. That would be kind of interesting to bring some of that stuff we typically more associate with Korra potentially into the Aang stuff. That's one way to do it. But it is very early to speculate exactly on what's going on there. And then immediately after that, in the description, it says, starring Dave Bautista, Dayon Kwan, Eric Nam, Roman Zaragoza, and Steven Yeun, which is very interesting because Steven Yeun, of course, voiced Avatar 1, the first Avatar. This is the first we've actually heard of he's involved in this movie, apparently. And obviously it doesn't say who he is voicing. I think we have a rough sense for like who's voicing who among the other characters. But we don't actually have any sense for who Steven Yeun is voicing. Now, interestingly, they don't say Dante Bosco, where that's still a bit up in the air. It's kind of weird. They haven't confirmed that for sure he is back. So, you know, is Steven Yeun being brought in to do something else? It's hard to say. Could Avatar 1 actually be a significant role in the movie? Or are they just highlighting Steven Yeun as like he's potentially one of the more famous people involved in the cast? He will be playing Avatar 1. That could be interesting, you know, Aang to do some Avatar stage stuff at some point that requires a reflection on the past. And then again, remember, the movie is potentially called Lost Realm. That this copyright filing at least suggests that something along those lines is 100% true. Which kind of matches up with, I think, one of the previous titles we were maybe thinking it was going to be was like, what was it, Hidden Kingdom? Or something like that. So they're going with this idea of a place sort of lost to time, and so it kind of almost suggests that it's people from the past or powers from the past coming back. Might Aang need to maybe go back and communicate all the way back to Avatar 1 to learn something? That's kind of interesting to me. People definitely want more Avatar 1. I'd be perfectly fine if they did something with that to kind of connect the dots a little bit more of like, hey, this thing that we found out in Korra, like Aang had dealings with that as well. So yeah, the cast information, one new cast member revealed here. Interesting to see how that exactly plays out. But yes, that is the news. There's not too much to really go into here just because ultimately it's a rather vague description of a plot that could fit any movie that is going to have action/adventure in it, which is what Avatar is going to be. Lost Realm, I guess some sort of confirmation that the title is going to resemble that, though, again, as far as we're aware, the working title is Aang the Last Airbender with no plot relevant text. So is it going to be Aang the Last Airbender Lost Realm? Maybe. The release date being sort of accurate, that matching up with what we still have, no moving the date even further out is good as we go into 2025. It definitely means that, like, okay, as far as we're aware, unless they make a much more recent change of date, we're looking at, yeah, we'll get certain preview, I guess, stuff at some point next year ahead of a very early next year release. So that's pretty exciting overall, just that we have this, and it's just the first sign that stuff is actually beginning to happen. You line this up with the fact that just like, what, a week, 2 weeks ago, we got the announcement of the AAA Avatar game. They're beginning to talk about some of these projects a little bit more. Now, they're still very cautious about animation, and it should be noted that, of course, we just found this. This has not been made like public as a piece of news. It's just that we happened to find this. When, if they'll actually do anything in relation to this, making an official announcement because they've put this listing out there, who actually knows? But it feels like stuff is being put into place to where, okay, cool, it's actually gonna, happen here at this point at some point soon. It's hard to properly get a real sense, but if you're following all of the news, we're getting there. There's going to be a merchandise line next year. Video game news they're being a little bit more public about. Publishing apparently is going to be ramping up soon. And now, little bits and pieces of official stuff about the movie is beginning to kind of come out. We're getting there. So, a bit of positivity hopefully coming out of this. It's nice to know something, and it's nice to get a piece of information about this that's not like negative in some way, where like it's been pushed back by 3 months, or there's been job losses at Avatar Studios or something like that. Paramount's being sold again or something like that. That's been most of the updates about these projects. So pretty good stuff. But in the comments, let me know what your thoughts are on this. Lost Realm as part of maybe the full title, release dates being stuck to, apparently a bit of a description, vague, but it's something. And Steven Yeun, also part of the cast for this movie, apparently. So that's kind of interesting. I'll just quickly highlight that I also have the SpongeBob version of this open, so you can see it's done pretty similarly, but except it's called The SpongeBob Movie Search for SquarePants, which is why it's kind of weird that the Avatar one is just 2 words and doesn't actually mention Avatar except in the description. With that one, you can see here that the dates are a little bit kind of backwards, where it's like, this apparently started a few months before Avatar did. It's going to be completed a few months before Avatar, and it's going to release the month before Avatar. And they also get their description as well. So nice to see it was part of a group, so it's not just a random Avatar one. It's part of a few things that Paramount are working on. But yeah, in the comments, let me know what your thoughts are. But that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.